Hello, my name is Tony J from Eiger Design. This video is a continuation from the Demo4 video where we added an ADC DAC card to slot 6 of the J-Testr system. In this video we will add a JTAG I/O card. As the name suggests, the JTAG I/O card is a JTAG bus device. The previous two videos has shown the addition of system bus devices. The I/O card will be fitted to slot 4, which is on bank 1 of the motherboard peripherals. I will just get up the overview schematic of the motherboard. This is the schematic that's used to generate the netlist, and you'll see here we have bank 1. Here is slot 4, so we will connect a card in here, the I/O card. So the JTAG bus has to come all the way into slot 4, go through slot 5, through slot 6, and then through slot 7. However, to do this we must make some connections in the XJE's project to tell the XJE's how the bus is formed. So we need to place a connection here to bypass slot 7, a connection here to bypass slot 6, a connection here to bypass slot 5, and then here we need to connect TDO to the I/O card and TDI to the I/O card. This will give us a bank 1 chain that goes all the way through slot 4, through the I/O card, back through the TDO to bypassing the slot 5, bypassing the slot 6, and bypassing the slot 7, and then successfully returning to the JTAG connector. So we just remove this schematic for now. So the first thing with any JTAG card in the XJE system, we need to add a board. The name of the board is not important, unlike the motherboard which had to have a specific name. Here we can call it anything, so we will call it JTAG I/O card. We can say this is the I/O card, and we're prompted to add a netlist. So we can get the netlist in the usual manner from the framework under netlists, and here we have the JTAG I/O netlist. If you wish, you can go to the I/O instructions, the I/O peripheral card instructions, and you can get the overview schematic which is used to generate the netlist which we've loaded here. Next, we need to make the connections we talked about when we viewed the schematic earlier. So just to bring that back in, we need to make these connections here to bypass the slots that we are not using. So we make sure we put pin to pin, and we will go and select the pins we require. So we go to slot 5 first, and we will connect TDI with slot 5 TDO and click OK. So here's the connection we've just made. We add one now for slot 6 from TDI to slot 6 TDO. Finally, the last bypass is bypassing slot 5, apologies, slot 6 TDI to slot 7 TDO. Click OK. So going back here, we've now done this bypass, and this bypass. Now we're just left to connect the TDO to the I/O card TDO and the slot 4 TDI to the I/O card TDI. So we will add slot 4 TDI to, we will just filter on the I/O card. Here we have the bus connector You will see from the overview schematic in the I/O instructions, this is where the JTAG bus comes in to the I/O card. We click that and we connect the TDI. And now finally connect slot 4, TDO. Again, we do the filter on the JTAG I/O card and the bus connector, and here's the TDO. To summarize, we've done a bypass for slot 5, a bypass for slot 6, a bypass for slot 7. We've connected slot 4 TDI to the J-Testr I/O card TDI, and the slot 4 TDO to the J-Testr I/O card TDO. So we're now complete, and we can go down to generating the chain. So first we will add the chain. We give it a name, JTAG I/O card chain. It's prompting us for the TDI input. So we will go down to the motherboard JTAG connector. Just move this over. And we can find the bank 1. Here we have bank 1 TDI to slot 4 TDI. So that is our TDI input. And then we need to find the TDO. We have the motherboard slot 7 TDO to bank 1 TDO. So we will click that and we will say OK. I'll just, for clarity, bring over the schematic. So what we did here, we identified this line for the TDO and this line for the TDI. Okay, so you'll see that the XJTAG software has successfully found the first CPLD on the JTAG I/O card. So we can double click that. It's now prompting us to assign a BSDL file for the I/O card. So we will go to the framework again, get the BSDL. This is the J-Testr JTAG I/O card BSDL. Click OK. And then you see it's found the second CPLD. The I/O card has 4 CPLDs, so we will double click this. We'll give this the same BSDL file. It's found the third CPLD. We will give this the BSDL file, and finally the last CPLD. We'll give it the BSDL file, and you see that the XJTAG has successfully gone all the way back to the JTAG connector. So let's overview this. So from the JTAG connector, we've gone through slot 4 TDI to the I/O card TDI. We've gone through all of the CPLDs and then back out of slot 4 TDO. And then we've bypassed slot 5, bypassed slot 6 and bypassed slot 7. Remember, the electronics to do the bypass is done automatically. We have just told the XJTAG software that the lines will be bypassed. At the moment we have the frequency up here set to 25 MHz. That's a little bit fast because the chain is now of a reasonable size. So let's set this down to something a little bit lower, maybe 16 MHz should be fine. We will try that. So we set that to 16 MHz. If your chain has a problem, you can always scale this down until you see the chain working, or use the debug tools that XJTAG provide to find out what your maximum chain speed is. We will now go down to pin map, and we need to assign a pin map to include the new chain. So you can assign this manually, but it's always recommendable to go and look in the framework to see if there's an existing pin map that we can use. So here we have one called motherboard bank 1. So that's the motherboard and the bank 1. So we will double click that. That assigns everything we need. And we can go forward to Analyzer, and we can see we have the control device, the first device on the chain, which it must always be, and now we have the 4 CPLDs from the JTAG I/O card. So that's everything we expected. Now, before we can run this in the analyzer, so that we can show that the chain is working, we must go back to pin maps. This pin here is the bypass for the internal JTAG system. Now the bypass is negative, so if the pin's low it will bypass the chain internally. We don't want in this example to bypass the chain, otherwise we will not see the I/O card. So we will click on here and we will change it from being a PIO, which enables us to control it in the XJTAG software, and we will change it to being high. So that now we're saying high bypass, negative bypass is high, meaning it will not bypass. We can now go back to Analyzer, save changes, yes. And we can attempt to run the chain. And you see we now have successfully got the chain running. Here is the control device. This little pin is indicating the heartbeat. You can go over here with your highlighter, and here's saying that the bypass for all slots, and here is the reset. Okay, so we now we'll have a look. Here we have the 4 devices working perfectly. They're all pulled up high at the moment because they are not actually connected to anything. So we have successfully added the JTAG I/O card to the J-Testr system. All that needed now is in the application, into the UUT application, is to connect the various pins of the I/O card to your UUT application, and the J-Testr software will automatically do connection tests between the two. I hope this video has been useful. If you have any questions, please contact support@igadesign.com.